we go. Thanks.
Hey, it's December 17th and it's pouring rain here in South Carolina today. So I thought I'd dig out some old video footage. This was of a fly-in that I went to. It was an invitational fly-in in Sweetwater, Tennessee. The property owner is a recently retired doctor, and he's big into helicopters, and he wanted to have an aviation event, and somehow or other I made the cut and got the invitation to show up with a bunch of cool people. Some absolutely spectacular flying in that valley. But what I really want to talk about is something that I got drug into because it's raining. I kind of expanded what I typically would watch on YouTube beyond the suggestions of the algorithms. And I watched a video by Juan Brown. He comments on aviation related news and accidents and incidents and so on. And Juan and I have very similar backgrounds. He publishes as Bronco Lirio. He's not one of my favorite YouTube content producers. In fact, I have a pretty limited appetite for all of that post-accident, we know more than the NTSB type, or we know before the NTSB rules type of programming. Another content producer in that same arena is Dan Gryder. And he's overstepped his bounds and been successfully litigated against a couple times on commentary and assessments that he's made. So that's the main reason I don't like that type of programming. But beyond that, I suffered through the Juan Brown video because it dealt with the fatal accident of Tennessee Fly Girl. A very avid YouTube content producer in the aviation realm, and this brings up a lot of mixed emotions because the reason you're watching this is we make YouTube videos about paragliding, and had I been learning to fly in the internet age, I'd probably be making videos about learning how to fly or about flying general aviation or airliner equipment. It just happened to be the timing in my life prevented that. The technology didn't exist, quite honestly. Makes me sound old, I know, but well, I've kind of warmed up to Juan a little bit. I've softened a little bit on my disdain for his content, and partly he's absolutely right on the assessment of Tennessee Fly Girl's accident, having owned a very similar airplane with a very similar autopilot, both from the sophisticated side and the lack of complete autopilot package side. If you're interested in that, you can watch Juan's video. I have my own thoughts on what happened there, and they're pretty much in line with what Juan's assessment of the accident is. Beyond that, the thing that I want to talk about is, you know this. Everybody knows this, but don't lose sight of it, that the rules are Aviate. Don't lose control of the aircraft. I don't care if it's a hot air balloon or a paper airplane or a fighter interceptor. Navigate. If you're aviating, navigate so that you don't get lost. And if you're not lost, communicate in that order of primacy. Oh yeah, and then if all three of those have been done, you can try to capture video content. And I think this is a clear example of somebody who put likes and subscribes way in front of those other priorities. And unfortunately, it looked like she had some pretty poor instruction and an instructor who didn't hold her feet to the fire on thorough understanding of how that autopilot worked. All of this comes on the heels of the Trevor Jacobs going to jail thing. It's just a completely new dynamic in aviation where video content production and views and likes and subs are are outweighing things like safety and common sense. And don't think for a second the FAA hasn't taken notice. These are some high-profile accidents that have happened. So if you're out there creating content, do it with the utmost of care for yourself first. Make sure you're not allowing the desire to get the shot to compromise safety. And of course, you know, the equipment itself can get in the way of manipulate. I don't care what it is you're flying. You know, a camera falling off during a tight instrument approach in an airliner can be just as dangerous as a selfie stick going through your prop on a paramotor. The camera gear and the desire to carry all that stuff along with us is it's a very interesting dynamic, and I never would have thought that it played out like it has. So that's my 2 cents. Anyhow, this flying was a lot of fun. Here's a little bit more footage of it, and fly safe and keep making content, because there's not much out there, because I'm scratching the bottom of the barrel if I'm watching Juan Brown. Hi, Juan. Oh, one last thing I forgot to mention. I have a new glider in the pipeline. I ordered a replacement for my aging Eden 7. Now that's a free flight wing from the Mac Para lineup. It's their B wing. It has served me well. I've got quite a few flights on it free flying, and I have occasionally, especially in recovering from surgery a couple years ago, flown that with the motor. So it's getting to be a high time glider. I was going to send it off for an inspection, and I decided the better course of action would be just to order its replacement. So it looks like I might be the launch customer for the new wing. I had considered the Ozone product line quite heavily because of my friendship with a couple of people that sell gliders in that lineup, particularly in the free flight community. But ultimately, Mac Para again won my business. So this is the new Verve. It has winglets. I call them sponsons because they're not all the way at the tips of the wing, but they're referring to them as winglets. And I ordered it in a 30-meter size. It's pretty much a 2-line glider, so I'm going to learn what that's all about here very shortly. Hopefully I'll get some footage of that out to you from South America soon. Merry Christmas.